Alrighty. Buddy. Yeah. Gotta notify everybody. Make sure we get everybody in here tonight. Hello. Tonight is definitely going to be a good one. Let me get everybody out of the chat and into here. Live on YouTube, talking about FL5 versus Fk8 Turbo and tuning. Let's get everybody in here. What is good, everybody? Yeah, it is tonight for me. Some people, it is still kind of the afternoon, which is not actually like coffee per se. I'm actually drinking mud water, as it's called. Kind of like the stuff, low caffeine, just enough to keep me going. I do drink regular coffee, but not all of it. Tonight, I will actually be doing some diagrams as well on airflow. I did want to go over that because it's pretty essential when it comes down to porting heads and some of the things that people don't understand about them. And I want to share what's right and what's wrong so that, in the future, you guys happen to pick a porting cylinder head, even if you don't pick it through me or even crazy enough to sample it yourselves, I can at least point you guys in the right direction. So as you can tell, I decided to put the shop so we can, see about, ta-da, at least half of the shop. And there's a big, huge door. They made the door ginormous in here. So who has been told that the FL5 Turbo is a better turbo than the Fk8 Turbo? Which one of you guys have heard that? I'm curious how many people have heard that. I don't disagree. From what I've seen with the tuning, the FL5 Turbo is definitely not superior. That's definitely the case. We need to get some more people in here. Where did everybody go? We had like 6 people in here and they just all disappeared. What is going on? We need to get more people on this lives. And yeah, I know I need to be here every Thursday, but no, actually. So here's the thing. We're gonna get right into it, and hopefully people get caught in here. The FL5. What's up, Zastri? Yeah, back on YouTube so that people can watch it later. That was one of the things that some of the people from Australia actually told me, like, hey, man, I can't always get on to the Instagram because the video's not there for everybody. So I went to YouTube so that this way you guys can watch it later or go back and review something. It's just easier for everybody else. There may not be quite as many people on here, but that's not the point. We're a pretty tight-knit group here, and I really love everybody coming in here. So the FL5 Turbo, as far as fuel economy. So there's a misconception there in the fuel economy. Fuel economy doesn't necessarily become better because of a more efficient turbo, unless fuel economy becomes better when you don't have back pressure. In a sense, the turbo, when you are such light on the throttle in fuel economy, there's no relevance. The only thing that might actually make the back pressure better, the fuel economy better, is the longer final drive. The longer final drive is going to bring the RPM lower. So therefore, you may get better fuel economy on, say, at 75 miles an hour. So that's part of that with the FL5. It's not so much the turbo, it's more so the gearing. And because they went with a longer gearing, they had to go with a turbo that could spool earlier. And the only way to kind of really do that is either get really good and expensive, which they're not going to do to the highest bidder, or go to a smaller turbo, which is exactly what they did. And while the one component on the, I should probably draw this rather than say it, the one component that is bigger on the FL5 is called the X-Deucer. Man, I should have brought a turbo. I do have one. Do I have it here? Crap, I don't. I have it in the house. But I'm going to use an exhaust housing to kind of help you guys along here. So, and the case, let's pretend this is the compressor side. The hole in the compressor side is called the inducer, right? And when you go on the, let's just pretend again it's compressor side, where air actually exits towards the intercooler is called the X-Deucer. The inducer on the compressor side dictates a lot of the flow, because it's like trying to breathe through a smaller straw. The smaller the straw, it doesn't matter how good, efficient the suction is on the other side, you're not going to get the air through. So now on the turbine side, the X-Deucer, or the exit portion, the larger the exit, the more efficient it is there as well as far as overall flow. Now, yes, having a 9-blade design does kind of help with that. But one of the things that was missed, let me put this in here, so I can just go and Foster. I'll make sure I get those guys sorted out. One thing that was missed, and I kind of noticed, was the FL5 compressor wheel, while it had a bigger X-Deucer, which would be the, so let's just pretend we got a compressor wheel, we've got our blades. The X-Deucer, the base of it was smaller. The inducer, was bigger. The inducer was smaller. So the amount of air you can get in is smaller. But the other thing I really noticed is the angle of the FL5 compressor, I should say the height. It looked like, if I were to say this was an Fk8 compressor, it literally, from what I've been seeing, because I don't have them hand on hand, it looked like the FL5 was just shorter. And while it was wider, like to pretend this was wider from the X-Deucer point from here, this area, I forget what the number was, like 50 something. The height of the compressor wheel looks shorter. So the smaller height of the compressor wheel, you've got less blade area to grab air. So even if it is more efficient per its size, you still you're limited in air. Size does matter in a turbo. Like, you can't say that a G25 550 is going to outperform a big ass GT40 old school, turbo as far as peak power, as far as spooling up. Yeah. And what I noticed while tuning, so that for you guys that don't know, that car with 4-piston and a tune was Honda Pro Jason's car. And as far as I knew it had I believe a PRL downpipe, and definitely had a PRL intercooler. I don't remember the downpipe, and I'm not sure about the exhaust. And one of the biggest things I noticed during the tuning was above like 5,000 RPM, the turbo would start to roll off hard. The boost that we ran was definitely pushing the turbo harder. The other thing I noticed was there wasn't quite as much of a boost drop on the cams as I kind of expected. And I'll explain why. That comes down to the exhaust, the X-Deucer, the exit of the exhaust. So for me, from what I've seen in the data, I would really say that there's no way that the FL5 Turbo is as far as peak power, just not there. Now, efficiency, yeah, you can kind of make that claim because it's smaller. I do hope so. The, it just, the claims of efficiency may be accurate, again, per size of the turbo. So, but again, it comes down to blade area. And if the FK8 turbo, maybe if the FK8 turbo had a billet compressor wheel and it was a lighter compressor wheel, it might spool just as early. Now, tuning. This is where things got real interesting. I noticed a couple things right out the bat also kind of gave away the, before I get into the tuning, I was looking at the base ignition timing charts and I was comparing them from the FL5 to the FK8 of the factory settings. And one of the first things I noticed was above like 6,000 RPM in the FL5, Honda removed ignition timing. And when you have to remove ignition timing as RPM climbs, that's a big indication of back pressure. Now, the piston top is the same, the rod is the same, the compression is the same, the cylinder head's the same, the VCT actuators are the same, the everything in the motor is identical except for the piston has a coating around the top ring to kind of help it be more slick, and the side skirt for as maybe a little bit of efficiency, the way they made the side skirt with little pockets on the coating to hold oil. That's all that's different. The motor is the same. Everything, the cam timing, all that stuff. They adjusted it a little bit, probably to accommodate the smaller turbo. So that's what's changed in the tuning. And what I don't think is a fair comparison in the tuning aspect of this is that the FL5 absolutely has a better intake than the FK8. That's 100% fact. The other thing is, I can't say it's a guarantee because I don't have the factory FL5 intercooler core, but more than likely the intercooler core is better. The last thing is, we don't know if the exhaust is better. So we can't take a base, a base FK8 and a base FL5 and tune them both on 93 and say, hey, that turbo's better because the car is different. So, but the motor is not. And that was very obvious. The ignition timing it wanted, 93 octane, 9 degrees of timing. That's what it wants. The FK8, 93 octane, you want constant clean pulls, no more than 9 degrees of timing. And I did notice as soon as I put any more boost in it, that was it. The turbo just collapsed, and so did the ignition timing, just gone. Went from 9 degrees to like 5, and the power just, and so the consistency wasn't there. The other thing that's interesting is this car doesn't work on air charge as much as the FK8. Now that was a big surprise. They really kind of drifted a bit away from the air charge. So in order for me to maintain good torque, I blended the chart. So instead of having your typical air charge table where you just have RPM and an air charge command, I used both that table and the boost command table to get a blend. The last thing that gives away the lack of efficiency on that turbo is the air charge calculation above 5,500 tanks off stupid hard compared to an FK8. So we get the air charge calculation from the amount of air coming past the actual mass airflow sensor. So being that it does make the power it does on a lower air charge up top, yes, the turbo's more efficient. Can it make more power? No. And the knock control strategy is a bit different too. It's just as sensitive as before, but the thing that changes is the recovery rate. So in the FL5, it has about, I would say about 300 to 500 RPM. If you see knock, it doesn't put any timing back in, then puts in half a degree, and then comes back another 500. Okay, another half a degree. It doesn't do like the FK8. It doesn't just go, oh, I saw knock, come back out, come back in, like the full amount. So the recovery of the ignition timing is a lot slower. So this is going to make it, in a sense, safer. So what else was different? The air fuel command was somewhat similar. We didn't put a wideband on it. I just tuned the car a little bit rich Another thing is, I can't tell you yet about the high pressure pump. It may be better. It may be bigger. It seems like the high pressure pump's a little bit better because really at the airfield racetrack, it didn't really strain the car that much. I'm trying to think. The other thing that was weird was when VTEC crossover, no matter where VTEC was, it would lose a degree of timing on VTEC crossover for 300 RPM. Now, I don't know if that's some weird reaction to cams in the software, but there was nothing we could really kind of do about that because unless I built like a really screwy ignition table for that, just like that 300 RPM, just to gain back 5 or 10 horsepower at that point. Let me see. Tuning. The other thing that was really kind of interesting too, there was the data for the frequency of the mass airflow sensor. It doesn't read in the data yet. And the other thing is there's no live tables, nothing. So every single change requires a flash. So God, man, probably did like 15 flashes. And I think that just about covers most of what was different. The fact that it's kind of more of a boost command. And I kind of figured that with the mass airflow sensor being different, being frequency based. And there's a lot more range in it, a lot more range. That's pretty much it, guys. So anybody got any questions for me on that? I know it's a lot to absorb, but I hope that you guys, caught a lot of that. I will be getting into something about airflow too. Dang, I don't have the cylinder head with me. What's up, Juan? You just missed. You're gonna have to go back and play back some stuff, man. You just missed a whole lot, really. The injector size is the same on the FL5. So, and it's the same Bosch injector. They do have a different part number. So my Fk8 TD injectors will work with it. I would love to see that car with one of my high pressure lines and a set of my injectors. I'd love to see that. You see any more potential out of the FL5? Only in the sense of maybe the stock high pressure pump has more potential and more range in the mass airflow sensor. Might have a little bit more potential using a stock inlet due to the design of the intake. But very hard to say. I don't know if that anti-resonance chamber kind of hurts it that they have on top. Yeah, we're working on that. Oh, man. Oh, God. You guys haven't at it. Did I hear race? Man, y'all need to come over here and race with. No, I can't race anybody right now. Going to FK and FL5 TD. So I'm not going to change my website name. Everything's going to stay as it sits just because I named my website Fk8TD so that it was just an abbreviation to make people easier. I'm not going to build a whole other website for that. I really don't see that. That would just be too much money, be a waste of money. I didn't see. I got a little like in the way here. What is this? There's a hunt technician team. Why do I have this little heart symbol over here that just popped up and won't go away? Yes, it keeps going. All right, that's gone. He needs to add roll racing to one of his services. Oh, man. I'm going to get into some aerodynamics today. And I'm going to do this because I saw something, unfortunately, that was done to a cylinder head that really is not good. So, some people may know. This would be probably better if I just move this table over some. Get a straighter shot. That works. Just after the whiteboard here. All right. Put the charger in. So, I'm going to show you guys an aerodynamic effect of a pickup, and you'll understand why I'm doing this. All right. So, on a pickup truck, oh boy, that's the hard. You know what? Let me get. I can't draw worth a damn. I did this earlier. It was funny. I kind of went over this. Okay, so you have a pickup truck, right? Window, that, bed. Okay, and you have that, and then let's have your little window, yeah, front of the truck, wheel. Aerodynamics, and please excuse my 3-year-old level drawing. In a truck, when the air passes over the truck, it does not hit the bed, and it goes out over here because the air that's in the bed tumbles. All right? This creates a bubble. This bubble prevents that air from dragging on the back of the pickup truck. So putting your bed down, right? If you put the bed down on the truck, what actually happens is instead of the air going and passing it, it goes down and then drags on the tailgate. Now, the reason I'm going over this is because I saw something in a cylinder head recently, and I couldn't figure out why when I was trying to help a guy with a car, and it cams in a port ahead, and it shouldn't have been a certain issue that was showing up. And let me see the best way to draw this. So we have the port. Let's do this. Valve, port. Let's see. And the port coming down this way. You know what? Valve guide. And basically, the port has a little hump like this before the valve guide. We've got the guide that sits here, comes here, and then the other part of the port. So it's a very hideous drawing. Excuse me. I'm terrible at drawing, but man, that looks like a foot. So, and the air basically does the same thing like it does on the truck. It goes in the port and goes over this section and then comes out and finishes its way out the port. What I saw, now you can remove some of this, right? And then you have a curve, and yeah, it'll kind of run into this a little bit, right? And it's not horrible, but what I saw was somebody had taken the head and they literally chopped this into this. And I wasn't understanding why until I saw the picture, the weird behavior, because the air, when you do that, runs straight into this wall behind the guide and then comes straight down and interferes with the rest of the air trying to get into the cylinder. The other thing I saw, which, and I'll get back to that truck thing, was when our cylinder head, when it comes in, it comes down a pretty steep angle, kind of turns this way, and then rotates down like this. That's when you port them correctly. Any sort of old block, you will see they have a little bump, and this increases air velocity, but this radius helps it make the turn, right? And the other thing it does, it makes the air up here speed up, even at low speed. So what this guy also did on top of that was, instead of creating a radius there, he just did this. And literally, you guys can see from the drawing, it runs straight into the back of the valve. And as it runs into the back of the valve, it bounces off the valve back up into the stream. because I couldn't figure out why this car was behaving so weird. And it even started doing wonky things with the no math tune as far as low speed air. But these were the two things that were done. So by doing the first thing he did with the valve guide, I'll explain it. It's going to make a lot more sense in 2 seconds here. So we have the truck again, right? And here's the front wheel, yeah, whatever, window. And the air would normally go over, right? Essentially what this guy did was, imagine this is your valve guide sticking up. Basically, this guy did this. Boom. So the air just straight into the wall. And it sucks because customer now has a cylinder head that should respond better and unfortunately won't or hasn't been. So it stinks for this poor guy. But I wanted to show you guys that because you really got to be careful when you pick who do you get your components from. Oh, thank you. That's all right, though. Why I went with the cord final on the FL5. So, FL5 billet wheel like SI. It is. Yeah, eddy current. Yes, Brandon got it right. An eddy current in a river. You know, go past the corner and then have an eddy current over here, and the water continues to flow, but this area is stationary. Unfortunately, yeah, Angel, that doesn't seem like, I mean, it stinks, man, because I know the guy who ported the head, but I'm just not, I don't want to just go blabbing stuff out there, and I don't want to blab the customer's name. But it literally, at like low speed driving, it just really just yanked a ton of fuel. And then the long-term trims went so far out that when the ECU tried to recover under full throttle, it just went whoop, maxed out the other direction because the long-term trims pulled the whole table down. And even if you take that table and try to put it back in, it just pulls it down again. Yeah. So, and yes and no, it is a billet wheel, but that doesn't necessarily mean more air. It means more air per the same size and design. Because the FL5 compressor wheel is both smaller in height and inducer size, that actually is less surface area to move air. It is a lighter wheel, but again, that does not make it move more air. The Mishimoto intercooler is less efficient than a smaller, I don't know, Garrett, I guess you want to say it, but if you have a 500 cubic inch Garrett intercooler core and 1,000 cubic inch Mishimoto intercooler core, the Mishimoto is heavier, but it's still going to be produce more peak power. The misconception is efficiency and power. There's efficiency and then there's power. You can make power inefficiently, or you can make less power very efficiently. So, and that's what the FL5 does. It makes less power, but does it pretty efficiently. But I've, again, I've also seen, even in another car, I've seen some logs that had a P700 on, that the fuel demand was low, but again, the P700 is very inefficient. So fuel demand is low. So an efficient turbo is going to have a high fuel demand / high output. All right, Kelly, man, I'll talk to you later, brother. That's why I hate the way some companies present the FL5 Turbo. You know, it's a selling point. I'm trying to explain the beginning, the inlet size, the intake, and exhaust. Let's say that's an F. Let's just for dumb answers. You're let's just say this is the opening on the turbo and the exit. You're limited to that size. No matter how efficient your compressor or turbine wheel is, even if you have the most efficient turbine wheel, look at it like this. It's like I got a super high efficient exhaust. It's only 2 inches. Go put it on your car and make 600 horsepower. That's the problem when you have the small exducer and a small inducer on a turbo. You can only put so much air through that same space. That's why, well, some people consider the G series somewhat more efficient than a precision turbo necessarily. I don't know how true that is. Somebody have said it, that it's more efficient per pound of boost. Your maximum power output is not going to be there. That's why I'm going to a 64, 66 precision, because even with the big ass G35 1050 turbo, the exhaust was still too small. It was a 68, 62. And I saw back pressure issues up top, which doesn't allow me to make that big power up top. Where's Andy? He's usually in here. You know what? Let me see something. Is it here? There it is. Man, I knew it was in here. I just had it buried. Oh. Ta-da! This thing is a beast. There's the other one. Oh. So basically, this is an EFR 8370, and this is the G35 1050. Now, if you look, the specs, believe it or not, I think the EFR 8370, the exducer wheel, I got to look this up. EFR 8370 turbine. There we go. Where is turbine specs? Turbine wheels 70, and what is the exducer? Turbine exducer. I'm trying to find the turbine exducer. Turbine wheel inducer. No, there it is. Exducer. Somebody put a typo. Is a 61 millimeter exducer. Now, believe it or not, one of the things that you will get when you have the bigger, oh darn it, I lost my marker. When you say you have a compressor wheel the same, right? But then you have the same inducer, but then you have a larger exducer, the base of the compressor wheel. What this does, all right, this generally doesn't necessarily make more power. What it does is, so your compressor map on this, well, you'll come up and you'll have it, and it'll kind of come up, and then it'll kind of taper back a little, right? In the higher boost, let's say that's 3 bar, let's say that's 2, that's 1 bar, you know, and your compressor map, let's just hypothetically say it's 60 pounds a minute, right? What this will do, instead of tapering back up top, what this will just help it do is kind of keep that higher. And high boost pressure area will kind of make it a little bit more efficient at higher boost. But the problem is, let's say this is an Fk8 turbo and it floats 60 pounds a minute. The problem would be that while this had a bigger exducer, it only floats 50 pounds a minute. So no matter what, the big thing would be if you were to overlay this, the Fk8 would look like this, and it would go past it. So that kind of maybe helps explain why, yeah, the FL5 might be more efficient to a certain threshold, but then it just doesn't happen. Okay. Wasn't the point to have better mid-range on the road course? Well, yeah and no. Problem was they put longer gears in it. And if they really wanted to have better mid-range on a road course, they would have left the gears and then stayed with that smaller turbo. So they really did. The turbo was really for the longer gears. The longer gears make it more adult-friendly to drive. So instead of like, there's more time in each gear with the longer final drive. And taking off with a longer final drive requires more extreme low-end torque. So that's not necessarily why they did that way. And the car's heavier, but not by much. How's the math scaled? Via frequency. What's up, Billy? Got you on my list, by the way. Get you sorted out. So don't mind the funky drawings. The math's in frequency, so it's literally like the Accord as far as scaling. The only thing is, though, the frequency range is huge. Yeah. The what was I going to say? I was trying to think if there's anything else that was kind of funky about it. I mean, the fueling. Oh yeah, that was another thing. So I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I'm not going to give you all the answer to it, but I am going to let you in on a little secret. If you change a certain setting, regardless of your air fuel command in these cars and the tuning, both on the Fk8 and this carried over to the FL5, the air fuel will randomly get locked on 14.7 command, even at full throttle, full boost, until later in the RPM. Some of you may have noticed the pictures. Well, I think it's one of the pictures. I don't know. I know that Luke sent me quite a few. And if I go back, man, where is that picture? There was quite a few of them. Ah, there it is. Let's see if I can get this to show up through my phone. Where did that go? I swear I just downloaded it. Let's do this. We can see the red line below the blue line. Okay? And what is that? And that right there, you see that is jammed on 14.7 until 4,200 RPM. And at that point, the car is making 24, 25 pounds of boost. But you'd see the power looks terrible. There's like no power there. And that is a symptom of that problem. You will see that. Now, that same thing carried over to the FL5, and the same solution carried over too. So very simple. Well, if you look at the maps between the two cars enough, you'll see it in there. You'll catch it. You'll see it eventually. You'll see the difference. It's just such a simple setting. It gets stuck on a base. The other thing, oh yeah, that was a huge thing. So we ran into where the cam command would get locked on full advance, full retard on the intake, and full advance on the exhaust. And when that happens, the car is lazier than dog crap, and it will not accelerate. And that is a new thing. Can I explain fuel status? Yeah, give me 1 sec. That is a new thing where if the ECU isn't ready, it will, if you got to stab it and it ain't ready, it is just going to get stuck. And there's nothing you can do about it. Except take the car, clear the code, cycle the key, restart the car, recycle the whole thing, and then go through it again. So you have to be wary of that. It is not just the settings things, it's a patience thing in the law. Fuel status. So here's the thing. Fuel status in Honda is listed as, I believe, fuel status 2 is closed loop. Fuel status 4 is listed as open loop. Now, the difference between closed and open loop is open loop will take the readings from the coolant temp, the intake, the manifold pressure. It will take them in the throttle position. It will take those readings, okay, and the mass airflow sensor reading, and it will have a calculated fuel. And that fuel will be set based upon those sensors. In a closed loop, and not open loop, closed loop, the O2 sensor allows adjustment. So it sees it's too rich. Okay, we're going to pull fuel. Closed loop means the system will operate outside of the calculated number via the other sensors. So that's the simplest way to put it into closed loop. Closed loop is basically allowing a system to vary outside of the set data it initially calculated. Now, the problem I have is that I don't believe the fuel status 4 is open loop. And the reason I say that is because if it goes into fuel status 4, you can watch it change fuel trims, which makes no sense. So what I believe fuel status 4 is it ignores the base volumetric efficiency chart and reads 100% off the mass airflow sensor. So if your mass airflow sensor scaling is wrong and you're jumping between fuel statuses and you're seeing wham, 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 your map scaling might just be off. Also, if the ECU sees a large enough variance between the two, it's going to jump fuel statuses. There's background calculations that are going on constantly that people have no clue exist. So, I mean, that's why it probably took the better part of almost 4 hours to really get the FL5 sorted out, you know. That's literally, let's put it this way, I got thrown into the deep end. I have not had my hands on one, and then here I go, poof, here. So I had at it. So the other part was, since there was no live changes, any single change, even 1 degree of ignition timing, required a flash. So to get it to 380 horsepower was not bad. Getting it to have a completely clean, smooth graph power everywhere on the FL5. That was the challenge. I made 360 horsepower on the second pull. It was easy. But again, keeping it clean, repeatable, no codes, having the cams happy, the spool happy, keeping the turbo from acting like a hair dryer. Oh man, that thing was bad. If you hit it to squeeze down just a little bit too much on that turbo, it literally, I think it was like 1.5 pounds I commanded more, man, and that thing just collapsed hard. Really does not like more than like it shows 23 pounds of boost up top. Anything like that. The other thing was, and I think there's 1 or 2 graphs out there with TR2 cams on an Fk8, and I think it makes power at like 65 or 6600 RPM for peak power. And you notice the FL5 6000 dead. I'd also I'd love to see a more efficient intercooler on that thing too. I bet every dollar that we could have easily, we had a little bit of a bigger intercooler, a little bit more efficiency there. I'm not saying the intercoolers on there was horrible or anything. It just, we had a better one than what was on there. So I think there's definitely room for improvement there. Oh, no worries, buddy, man. I mean, that's what the lives are about, man. I just try to help people get an understanding of what we're dealing with, And I didn't make any information or claims on the FL5 Turbo until I really kind of had my hands on it, So, I mean, just to put it in a standpoint, on a stock Fk8 in those conditions at 6,000 RPM, it would not fall on its face making 26 pounds on a TDO4 TC. So you have the GT3584 RS. That's a big turbo. Honestly, that's pretty much this bad boy right here in an older gen. This is a 351050. And I hope you are ready to rev to like 9 grand. Because you're going to need to rev that bad boy out. A 3584 RS is huge. My 351050 came on about 5,200. That's where it really kind of shined was from 55, 56 on out to it didn't start seeing back pressure until like 82, 83. And I was good enough to make 843 wheel. So let me get this bad boy off here. Yeah. I need to sit down. Oh, this is my 101 housing that will go with. Oh, where did I put that? Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, no, that's not it. Where'd I put it? Oh, well. Thought I had it there. Oh, you know what? I put it in the back of the car. So I will be selling my G3900 kit. Yes, ruthenium plugs are good. When my precision is done, I will be selling my G3900 kit, and it will be sold with the hood exit, with the downpipe, and both with the 83 housing and a 101. And I will sell it with 2 different actuator brackets and do 2 different ways. This way you can run it with or without the inlet of your choice. Inlet's going with it, the MAF housing's going with it, everything is going with it. Anybody want to buy a G35 1050? Well, on that kind of setup, let me tell you, so let me just read it back. Full bolt-ons, I just want to clarify. I've seen, even on stock turbo, as much as 30 wheel horsepower from swapping intercoolers. So can't really say exactly when we use the words full bolt-on. Because literally even on, let's put it this way. The record I have on stock turbo, stock fuel system E30 doesn't use one of the most common intercoolers. And it made 431. But also the downpipe, the exhaust, all that matters. But roughly, provided it's tuned correctly, the biggest issue is fuel delivery in total. The Honda fuel system, regardless, usually caps around 500 horsepower. If you ran, and that's in ethanol, you might get a little bit more with the cams and the efficiency. I did see about, on the same exact fuel system, running out of fuel with cams, about 20 horsepower in a car that made 540-ish. So it's kind of hard to say. The thing is, the Honda pump really doesn't, the delivery, you need the Honda line can be modified and increase some more out of a Honda fuel system, get another 15 horsepower, 15 to 20. But generally about 500, mid to 500 to 515 is kind of it. Really got to do with the pump running out. And if you're on stock valve train, don't rev it past 7,400. That's a huge risk with cams. Besides, and let me tell you, stage 2 doesn't make peak power past like 72, 73 anyway. And if you're on a PRL intercooler, you might want to seriously think about going to a Mishimoto. And just so you guys don't think I'm just like a Mishimoto nut job, Luke and I have the same opinion. Actually, we both stand on it. It was funny. I think he said he had so many on the shelf he had to sell. Oh, yeah. Let's go back to Brian's. The hood exit, so you know, provided you're feeding through a good enough charge pipe and have a high enough inlet, a 3-inch exhaust versus a hood exit at the 700 wheel mark, it's good for about 30 horsepower. Just so you know. I have no idea what I would have made on my 35 1050 had I run a hood exit, but I had a full exhaust on the thing. Sky Ghost, if your tuner said something like that about that, he's probably on a general page and has a decent idea of what's going on. Will Springs retainers CO2 cans rev to 7,800 with appropriate turbo? Yes. So I have a car out there. He's got a 3770. He does have 2000cc injectors, so we were able to really kind of hammer on it. Springs retainers, cams, XCI pump, 2000cc injectors, and the G3770, and made 620 stock bottom end. It's got over 90,000 miles, and it's in one piece perfectly fine. So yes, absolutely, you can rev to 7,800. You can rev to 8,000 is what I kind of like. Luke suggested the same amount, about where I felt safe too was 8,000 RPM on the stock bottom end, along with springs and retainers. But you've got to have the springs and retainers. The 1400cc injectors is going to be your limit, though. Your power is going to come in at 7,000, and you're going to roll over it because there's just not enough injector window. 1400cc's are just too small. So actually, I wanted to know, as you guys' opinion, do you guys like having the shop background during the live? You know, just curious. I kind of figured this would be kind of a cooler background to be, working with, and of course I can grab some stuff, and see what's up. So I just wanted your guys' opinion. Do you like having the background? Cool. Oh, jeez. Insulation's so good in here. It's 70 degrees in here. Where's the cat? I don't have a cat, brother. Or is that supposed to be like a shop cat? So a lot of people consider what I do some sort of time to get. Oh, no cats, please. Not for me. No, I love my dog to death, and he is just a handful, and he is just a little bit more. About Honda doesn't offer a 7,600 RPM rev limit. I that's a perfect, legitimate question, and people probably just don't ask enough for it. So because I think that with like a G25 660 or certain cars in MHI would be an appropriate range, The RV6 Turbo, just send that sucker to 78. It was the dog. The dog was in the kitchen. That was Loki. But I can't have him out in the shop right now. I've got too much stuff where he'll pick up and eat. I feel short here because I got the table up so high from porting manifolds. Have I tuned a car with the Vargas GC turbo? Seems to have the same specs as an RV6 turbo. All I'm going to say about that is that the RV6 turbo and the P600 have the same specs, and the RV6 will annihilate a P600. So you can't always go by specs. The Vargas GC would have to have a bigger exhaust housing to compare. And in the past, I have not had success or reliability with a Vargas. That's the one thing I gotta say. I hate to say it, but it's true. They claim to have a bigger hot side. We'll see. Let's see what they say. They claim to have a bigger compressor wheel too. They're claiming a 67 millimeter compressor wheel But I'm going to say that's probably an exducer size, which would be the bigger side of the compressor wheel. And they're claiming a 54 millimeter on the turbine, and that's probably going to be the turbine inducer side, which is the bigger side. And you don't, since it don't have the full specifications on the wheel itself, I can't answer that. So the other thing is, let me see. I do not like the fact they use a standard TDO4 housing. Brandon, I can't answer that, buddy. Maybe you'll be okay. It depends. I've seen on E25 with bolt-ons overrun the fuel system on a base map. Brandon, I can't answer you about telling me whether you want to run Vegas Stage 3 tunes on that, man. I really cannot answer you on that. I really don't. I'd have to see data, they being there. What fuel upgrade I recommend to get around 550? Run race gas. Easiest answer. Brandon, I'm not worried about being hard on the injectors. I'm worried about the car misfiring and you hurting the motor. That's what I'd be concerned about. And a tune that for track use, which I think you're saying Charlotte Motor Speedway, we're talking Charlotte Motor. Oh, shoot, Charlotte's isn't that See, if you said Atco, I'd know. All right, how that is weird. That is. Are you talking about running at Charlotte Motor Speedway or just driving there? Can I expect from upgrading to your full fuel system? Billy, if we're talking, so in a better case scenario, on the stock turbo, we can do a fuel system on ethanol. We can do 440 wheel horsepower, provided you have the correct intercooler, downpipe, and exhaust. And I've made generally it tops off between 530 and 550 wheel horsepower on an upgraded turbo with like a Garrett. I see 550 to 550, around 550. Yeah. Oh, by the way, fuel system. Speaking of messages, I did contact. Where was that message? God, so many messages to go through. Hold on a second. Where is the Extreme DI? What do they say? Waiting on machine plates. So, they said buy their order and yours ready at the same time as we're building CTR pumps while we wait for the machine to be done. That was the last message yesterday. So I have been trying to keep in contact with them. I'll have a bad influence on you. That's funny. Which do I like more, MHI Stage 2 or Kuro? MHI Stage 2. That's very... Kuro is like... I mean, how do I put this? It's not a bad turbo. It's just not very big at all. It's extremely small. If you, Brandon, if you're running 20 minutes at a time, you need a tune specific to that. I would not go out on a track and running 20-minute lapse times without a tune specific for that, I would not run any base map that's provided. I make very specific tunes for those scenarios. You can't run the torque that they run and the aggressive ignition timing or as aggressive air fuel ratio. Yeah, 500. So the ultimate, I think, honestly, and this is really how I feel, the sweet spot on these cars is like 550. Like, that's it. Anything more than that becomes less fun. I know it sounds stupid, but 550 is more than enough to put you back in the seat and still, it's a lot of power. Yeah, so that's another thing, that anti-surge housing, when they do come out, now they're just moving. So let me see what I said. Where is that, Barbies? Where was that? No, never mind. I'm patient enough for antis. Yeah, that, you know what? So, and somebody, and this is just from a higher spring pressure, just so you guys know, the RV6 has, oh, yeah, I have that. You know what? I'll do this, and then after that, I'll shut down the live. Guys, wait 1 minute. I'm going to go grab it. Oh, I know I forgot something. I put the Prackworks manifold in the car in Reggie's shop, which is right over there, but obviously at this hour he's closed. So I will say this. When I put my hands on that Prackworks manifold, the quality was much better than I had imagined. The materials, the weight, that thing is solid. Lots of layers of carbon fiber. Now, I will say this. The runner inlet size is no different than the radium plate. So there will be eventually a high RPM power limit, but what you will see is a whole lot in the middle. So you may not see a lot up top, but if you're looking for a top end monster, that might not be the intake manifold for you. And just so you guys know, all right, I found out that, and I trust this source 100%, that is run as much as 51 pounds. 51 pounds through a stock Fk8 manifold. So, Yahoo, that thing is tough. If you blow one up, my God, is it difficult to blow one up. Make my FK stock, and I wanted to make power 600 plus. What starting mods would you recommend to the goal? There's many brands to choose from. Anthony, I'll be here for the next half an hour trying to do that. There's so much information online, and I have gone over that in my past videos on best ways to make 500 wheel horsepower. So I would really highly recommend that you go back to one of those other videos so that we don't repeat the same thing. There's quite a few different ways to get to that power level. Brandon, even if you put E15, the problem is not necessarily the duty cycle on the fuel pump. The problem is the ignition timing and the blend of the tables and the way they're blended. Trust me, bro, you don't want to blow it up, man. You ain't getting a motor right now. They're all going in the FL5. Well, what do you think of the PPR Biela intake manifold with the throttle body? I think PPR's dyno chart's a bunch of horse shit. Go look at their dyno chart, and I'll teach you guys something really freaking awesome. And this really made me mad when I saw this. They show a dyno chart that shows 900 wheel horsepower. Okay? Like 900 something. Go reverse calculate the torque at 3,000 RPM. I think it was 3,500 RPM. That son of a bitch says 700 foot-pounds of torque. Because you can do the math to reverse the torque. Please tell me what 2-liter turbocharged car does 700 foot-pounds of torque below 4,000 RPM. So that's what I think about PPR. That's what I think about that. I think maybe the materials are nice, but I think that their numbers are a joke. It's a lie. It's a horrible lie. And I can't stand that. Because if you look at it, they're PPR version 2 manifold. Where is it? Stay sign. Wait. There is a dyno graph that they have. Where is that sucker? Dyno test, 987 wheel horsepower, 3,500 RPM. Let's just even go to 4,000 RPM. They're claiming 550 horsepower at 4,000 RPM. Okay? 550. So 550. What was it? What did I say? 4,000 RPM divided by 4,000 times 52. 722 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. We start out with a 300 shot of nitrous at idle. That's what I don't like. And why does it only rev to like 77, 75 and roll over? Somebody please tell me how they thought that anybody who's educated in this business would not realize that. Yeah, I got you on my list, buddy. So I've got tomorrow, I got one Monday, I got one Tuesday, and then what's Thursday? It's going to be, what? Oh, screw it. Might as well just schedule it now. Got you, literally got you in front of me. While I got you in front of me, Are you is car ready, right? Car is ready at this point. Because I thought you mentioned something about it was getting ready. Is the car ready, right? Okay. Can you do next Thursday? No, one's not tomorrow. I have another car tomorrow. There's no way he could be tomorrow. Unless I screwed something up. Because I have Robert's coming in from like 11 hours away. Jeff, are you available Thursday next week? So we got Robert. You work in the evening. All right. I'm assuming we're doing a street tune, right, Jeff? So, Hawaii time. Okay. Let me see. So, right now, I like to just do them live, man, and just get everybody done that, when I can, just get them done. You are 6 hours ahead. So right now you're telling me that it is like 2 a.m. by you? Yeesh. Yeah. No, 3 a.m. Okay. So that would mean so I have doctors at 2 on Thursday. And so, okay, so you're 3 p.m. there. So you say you work Thursday evening, so you start at 1:45? What's your start time? Okay. So shoot, man. I hate when they do that with my doctor. If I do that before then, God, it's like right in the middle of the day. What the heck is Tuesday? Well, thing is, after work, it's gonna be like 3 or 4 a.m. here for me. That's the only thing. You know what? What about Friday? Because Friday is just definitely the problem. Is my doctor's appointment's right in the middle of the day, and if I'm late out of the doctor's appointment, I won't be able to get your tune done before you got to go to work. I obviously don't want you to be late for work. So what about Friday? Okay. So so you work 1:45, so let's figure, so 6 hours. So it'll be two my time. So it's a one, that's 4. So I do 3 my time. That'd be 9 a.m. So what about 23rd? That's a Sunday though. I actually want to start learning to take Sundays off because I never do. And I really want to try to learn to do that. Let's do this. I can make it work. What I'll do is we'll do 3 or 4 my time, which would be 9 or 10 a.m. It's 2 hours. Usually 2 hours. So we'll do, and I usually allot for an extra hour just in case, because you just don't know. Sometimes things take a little longer. So, let's do this. So just to make, so we'll do 4 p.m. My time will be 10 a.m. your time. on Friday. Does that work? Might as well, hell, just get it done. All right. And then I got to get Billy in here next. Alrighty. Wow. That live, I thought it was going to be short, but it ended up being a lot longer, but that's all right, though. Added the Mega Mat finally with the RV6 front pipe, and the car is faster, but I hit the OEM high pressure fuel pump limit on 93. Oh, you better believe it. So the only way to get a little bit more out of the stock high pressure pump is to make sure that your in-tank pump assembly is good and to put a modified high pressure line on it. That helps. But overall efficiency differences in total setup make a big difference. Haven't added your line. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I think I'm hitting a energy wall here. Like got none left. Has anybody got any questions before I decide to call it a night? Nice. Man, I can't believe how much insulating this shop helped. This thing was an oven in here before. Oh, you guys are welcome, man. All right, gentlemen. I am going to call it a night. Thank you very much. There's a lot, Anthony. There's a ton of good information. And all the latest stuff is mostly in the lives. All right, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. As always, very appreciative. And for you. So I'll see y'all next week. Hopefully we can have a really good topic like this week and just keep them rolling every week. All right, gentlemen, y'all have a good night. I'll see y'all next week.